All right, space explorers, buckle up because we're diving into an incredible tale of three astronauts who defied the odds, spent 9 months soaring above Earth, and came back with stories that'll leave you starstruck. Picture this. It's June 5th, 2024, and two NASA veterans, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, are strapping into Boeing's shiny new Starliner spacecraft. The crowd at Cape Canaveral is buzzing. The countdown hits 0, and with a roar that shakes the ground, they blast off into the cosmos. Their mission? A quick 8-day test flight to the International Space Station. But space, my friends, has a way of throwing curveballs, and this trip was about to become an epic 9-month adventure. Meanwhile, years earlier, another legend, Peggy Whitson, had already carved her name into the stars with a mission that redefined what it means to live in space. This is their story, a roller coaster of triumphs, challenges, and discoveries that'll fuel your imagination and make you dream of the final frontier. Let's start with Butch and Suni, two fearless test pilots turned astronauts, launching into the unknown aboard Starliner. The plan was simple: dock with the ISS, test the spacecraft, and head home. But as they approached the station, things went haywire. 5 thrusters sputtered out, helium started leaking from the propulsion system, and NASA engineers on the ground were scratching their heads. The Starliner wasn't safe for a return trip, and just like that, their 8-day jaunt turned into a 286-day odyssey. Can you imagine? They were stuck up there, floating 250 miles above Earth, with no quick way back. But these weren't your average travelers. They rolled up their sleeves and got to work. Butch, with his calm, steady hands, tackled maintenance tasks, fixing equipment and keeping the station humming. Suni, a record breaker in her own right, stepped outside for spacewalks that would make your jaw drop. She clocked over 60 hours floating in the void, upgrading the ISS and setting the record for the most spacewalk time by any woman. Together, they ran experiments, growing plants in microgravity, studying how fluids behave in space, pushing the boundaries of science while the world watched, wondering when they'd come home. Now rewind the clock to November 17, 2016, and meet Peggy Whitson, a biochemist turned astronaut who was about to make history. She launched aboard a Soyuz rocket, her 3rd trip to the ISS, and this time she wasn't just along for the ride, she was in command. Peggy spent 288 days up there, leading Expedition 51 with a steady hand and a fearless spirit. She became the first woman to command the ISS twice, a trailblazer who showed the universe what grit looks like. Picture her out there, tethered to the station, performing spacewalks, 10 in her career, totaling over 60 hours, installing new gear and battling the harshness of space. Inside, she was a scientist at heart, running experiments on how our bodies handle microgravity, from bone density to immune responses. By the time she splashed down on September 3rd, 2017, she'd racked up 665 days across her NASA missions, more than any American astronaut before her. Peggy didn't just live in space, she thrived there, proving humans could endure the long haul. Back to Butch and Suni, still orbiting in 2024, their mission stretching longer than anyone planned. Months ticked by, 3, 6, 9, and the Starliner sat docked, a reminder of their unexpected detour. Down on Earth, NASA scrambled for a solution, finally calling in SpaceX to save the day. On March 18, 2025, a Dragon capsule brought them home, splashing down off Florida's coast after 286 days in space. The crowd cheered, the cameras flashed, and Butch and Suni stepped out, grinning, their mission a wild success despite the chaos. They'd turned a glitch into a gold mine of data, living proof that astronauts can adapt to anything. And Peggy? Her legacy was already cemented, her 9-month stint a stepping stone for what Butch and Suni would face years later. Together, these three showed us the raw, unfiltered reality of space. Beautiful, brutal, and bursting with possibility. So why does this matter? Because every second they spent up there brings us closer to Mars. 9 months is just a taste of what a Martian journey might demand. 2 years round trip, with no pit stops. Butch, Suni, and Peggy face the same challenges future explorers will: bones weakening, muscles fading, minds tested by isolation. Their experiments, growing food, studying radiation, tracking fluid shifts, aren't just cool science. They're blueprints for survival beyond Earth. Suni's spacewalks taught us how to maintain a spacecraft in the void. Peggy's leadership showed us how to keep a crew sharp under pressure. Butch's steady resolve reminded us that even when plans crumble, humans can rise. Their 9-month sagas weren't just about surviving, they were about thriving, about proving we've got what it takes to reach the Red Planet and beyond. Imagine the scenes. Butch floating inside the ISS, tweaking a high-tech experiment while Earth glows blue outside the window. Suni, suited up, drifting against the endless black, her tools glinting in the sunlight as she bolts down a new module. Peggy, commanding from the control module, her voice steady as she guides her team through a tricky spacewalk. These moments, captured in their missions, are pure adrenaline, humanity pushing the edge of what's possible. And the stakes, sky high. Every finding they brought back, how our bodies adapt, how plants grow, how minds endure, feeds into the dream of Mars. They're not just astronauts, they're pioneers. Their 9 months in space a launch pad for the next giant leap. Let's zoom out for a second. Butch and Suni's Starliner drama wasn't just a fluke, it was a wake-up call. Space isn't predictable, it's wild, untamed, and full of surprises. Their 286 days showed us how to pivot when the unexpected hits, a lesson we'll need when we're millions of miles from home. Peggy's 288 days, meanwhile, were a masterclass in endurance. Her body took a beating, but her spirit soared. She once said living in space is like a marathon, not a sprint, and she ran it like a champ. Together, their stories weave a tapestry of courage, ingenuity, and that spark of wonder that keeps us gazing at the stars. They came back to Earth after 9 months, but they left behind a legacy that's out of this world. As their capsules pierced the atmosphere, Butch and Suni in 2025, Peggy in 2017, the world held its breath. Parachutes bloomed, water splashed, and they touched down, heroes returning from the void. For Butch and Suni, it was a bittersweet end to a mission gone rogue, their grins hiding the exhaustion of 9 months in orbit. For Peggy, it was another notch in a career that redefined records, her eyes already on the next adventure. Their homecoming wasn't just a landing, it was a promise. A promise that we're ready for more, that the stars aren't just dots in the sky, they're destinations. These three didn't just spend 9 months in space, they spent 9 months building our future. So, space fans, what's the takeaway? Butch Wilmore, Suni Williams, and Peggy Whitson didn't just survive their 9-month stints, they conquered them. They turned setbacks into breakthroughs, isolation into inspiration, and every minute they spent up there into a stepping stone for humanity's cosmic journey. Their tales are packed with thrills, launches that rattle your bones, spacewalks that steal your breath, and landings that make you cheer. This isn't just a story about 3 astronauts. It's a story about us, our drive, our dreams, our destiny. Next time you look up at the night sky, think of them. Butch, steady as a rock. Suni, dancing in the void. Peggy, leading the charge. 9 months in space, and they brought back a universe of possibilities. That's the magic of exploration. Wild, unstoppable, and totally out of this world.